Has this full moon energy in Aquarius got you feeling all shook up? If so, stay tuned because I'm going to share with you 5 things that can help you survive this roller coaster ride we're experiencing during this impact shift.
Let's go!
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Harmony. I'm a twin flame expert helping twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Welcome to my weekly glow show. Today I'm going to give you an energy update for the full moon in Aquarius we have on August 15th, 2019. I've been shown to call this full moon the shift impact. And I'm going to just jump straight on into that because really when I say the shift and impact is we've been shifting, coming full circle, letting go of the old ways, the old paradigms, all the old programs. And we're coming into the new way of implementation, integrating, bringing those things into our physical reality and changing the way we've handled things, the way we've taken action, and the energy doesn't support any longer our old programs. And if we try in this higher vibration, we are shifted in a way that it's very impactful to prevent ourselves from making mistakes. It's like the universe isn't even giving us an opportunity to go back to the old ways because it won't work in the new vibration. But in addition to that, as we've came full circle in this energy, the way I'm seeing this and feeling this is kind of like a head-on collision, kind of like the door slammed. You know, I talked in the last couple weeks about the landscape being a portal of energy that we're going through. That's the universal new year of out with the old, in with the new. And it's like it happened like bam. And in that, it's like this convergence of energy that is, I'm just going to give you a couple ways I've personally experienced. I'm going to share with you what I've experienced, and then I'm going to share with you kind of coming out of that 5 things that is being basically affected or that you might be experiencing during this shift impact. But in this head-on collision that's taking place, the way it's felt to me as like the convergence of the waves where the tide goes out and then the tide comes in. But at the shift between the going out and coming in, there's the collision of the two that come together that's very impactful, that's very strong, that is very direct. And, you know, for us in this case, that shift is impacting to kind of knock this stuff out of us and implement in the new things, like wake us up, so to speak. You know, the impact of like, you're going to do it this way. But the other way to really describe it, as I said, the head-on collision would also be this direct stop. But in the direct stop, say if you were in a head-on collision that was a hit and run, you know, like you hit and you come to this halt, let's say 60 miles an hour coming together and bam, you catapult back without no stop in there. And now let's think about that driver that just hit you head on, just kept on moving, and you're kind of still trying to figure out what happened. And personally, this shift has been so physical for me in my physical body that it feels like I've been on this roller coaster ride of going up and down in this vibration at the same time of a scrambler going round and round to the point where I have had and suffered and been in bed with vertigo for the weekend. And I'm going to share with you a little bit more about that in a minute. But what I want to kind of go back to the moon aspect of this and what this moon represents in this shift, because it's basically like everything's transition. And so we've been leading up to the Lion's Gate is the impact of the direct, blunt, forceful shift. Then this is sort of like kind of like another gateway and portal into that new, that's a transition into moving into the softer side of things that we're kind of coming out to and preparing for say coming up in mainly September, going in through the rest of this year. So in that, then, like, basically this shift is really trying to knock out of us our biggest blocks. I've said this in other ways in other videos, that it's coming up to clear the deepest, darkest shadows that's been hidden and we've not been willing to see until now, and bringing that up to the surface so that we can clear it to go forward. And that being that this particular big block that's our biggest, so to speak, being one that's a repetitive pattern for a long time that comes to your awareness to release, and or multiple ones. And that's why, another reason why I think it's so impactful, because it's so many things happening like all at the same time. But in this full moon in Aquarius is about complete freedom. And so that's why, as we make this transition and this impactful shift between the old and the new, it's forcing us to accelerate this ascension process because of the momentum of the impact of that. And that's hitting us to, like I said, it's hitting us to purge, it's hitting us to let it go, it's hitting us to wake us up, on like all at the same time. And so what I'm really seeing out of that is creating more compassion for everyone and ourselves. And even myself, is my experience I'll share with you in a second, and then I'll share with you those 5 things that you might expect to come out of this transition, or you might be experiencing. But it's what I've been shown in this Aquarian energy is it's the radiant moon of compassion. And so that this impact is to really take us and hit us at a place that we get to take unconditional love and expand it in a way that it becomes greater than we would have known otherwise, and that we get to embody it, we get to integrate it, and most importantly, what all of this is about is bringing it into our physical reality. So let's just go ahead and let me share the story, my story, and then I'm going to jump in and tell you the 5 kind of things I took away from that, and then what I'm seeing with everyone else. So my big impact that I had deals even down to even some of my twin flame journey, which, by the way, this is also taking place not just individually in our livelihoods as far as jobs and careers and finances, relationships, especially the twin flame, and then our physical body. So, and then our reality, so that our reality can match us physically in the physical reality. But so my biggest kind of block that I've been seeing come up is that I've had a lot of physical neck trauma for like since I was 17 years old, years and years. I rolled a truck 3.5 times, went through the windshield, experienced a lot of pain, actually ended up becoming a chiropractor because of that. Then ended up, connecting with the twin flame journey through being connected to my twin flame throughout that journey, and in that both being chiropractors and him having been my chiropractor for many, many years. And then, throughout the twin flame journey, then him being the only one that could necessarily care for me in a way that my body responded. And it was sometimes very debilitating, or frustrating. And there was nothing even in between him and I, but just the fact if I would be somewhere and get adjusted, nobody could adjust me. I'd be on a trip, go see someone that couldn't even get my neck to move. And so I always had this underlying feeling of that I would love for my neck not to be like that. I'd love for my neck not to carry that tension, to be so unstable that, all I got to do is go to the dentist or go get my hair done and I have whiplash. And so that, to me, like, I've been on this kind of journey of asking for assistance that could take me down to a layer and level that's below standard chiropractic to heal my physical body in a way that I didn't have such a weak neck that was constantly being aggravated. So again, that's beyond just the twin flame being the one that can do it. I wanted to be able to be in a place that I just didn't even have to be adjusted like that all the time or have those kinds of injuries so easy. And so been doing a lot of writing lately, and on the 8/8, I got my project submitted, and all the writings caused a lot of tension. I've been doing a new workout regimen, going through the portal, being in really full throttle in a way that was very impactful, powerful, and very energetic, and back to myself and all these things. But I could tell that my neck was tense, and I actually was referred to this particular chiropractor that does all these other types of services that was different that I wanted to try, but it was taking me 8 months to get in to see him. So in the process of that, the neck issue became so debilitating at times, and even getting adjusted, that I was even going into different bouts of like vertigo and constantly having a lot of different pain. So I just recently asked guidance to ask to help to clear that as one of the blocks, to know that it's physically manifesting something below all of this and I want to let it go. So I asked for that to come up to clear whatever was underneath of that neck issue that I could release. Well, last week on Thursday, I had a session with a client, and she had a past life where she had died falling. And I took her through one of her biggest fears or blocks, and it had to do with a rewrite of a scenario in this life about preventing someone else from falling, and it was triggering her in a way that she thought, she couldn't save this particular person, or this person might get injured like she did in a past life, and it was triggering her, but that was becoming a block going forward. So in that, we released that, but that night, I actually had a dream where I fell, and in the fall, then I woke up in the dream, and it reminded me too that, like, as a child, I fell off my swing set, and this is in real life, and I landed on my back, and it knocked the breath out of me. And when that happened in my dream, and it woke me up, my body went into this kind of shock thing, and I started going through clearing of, like, purging past life, and knowing that I was hung at the stake, and I started feeling these things happen. My body went into a state of shock, and this is real. Like, I went into a state of like fight or flight shock and trauma on my body. And so I ended up going back to sleep, but I could tell my body was even more tense than ever. And so I actually had plans with my daughter and her kids on the next day, and this was last Friday. And so I got up and was getting ready, and I laid on this back roll, and when I did, I could feel the energy surging up through my body, because I could feel something in me trying to get out, and I feel these ripples of energy going up my back. Whenever I released and adjusted, the ripples just like shot up my back, and it moved, but it was good. But I went into this state of dizziness that was like a vertigo flare-up that I never understood. Like, my mother had been plagued with that for a long time. And I had some dizziness and vertigo, but not like that. I was sick. It put me in bed. I was debilitated. I had to cancel plans with my daughter and her children. And that brought up some old guilt things of like not being available and those sorts of things. And then I rescheduled for the next day, and I get up feeling much better and doing certain things that I do. And then I went to drive and was dropping Champ off before I went to go to my daughter's. And by the time I got there, which was 6 miles away, to drop Champ off, I had went into that state of shock. My eyes were glazed over. She checked my blood pressure. It was way out of whack. I was so dizzy, so fainting, like wanted to faint, thought I was going to die. Just had this inner feeling of gonna die, and I kept feeling like this stuff going on with my neck. I could feel the ropes on my neck, and I couldn't breathe, and I kept trying to breathe. And so she had drove me home, and I knew that almost like it was on the verge of needing to go to the emergency room, but I knew there was nothing they could do for me. So, I came home, I got quiet, I stayed in bed all day, I did meditation. I had 2 energy healers throughout the weekend work with me on actually must have been Sunday at that point. Saturday night was a really deep purge and clearing of the, and into Sunday morning of the being hung at the stake. And in my body, like, again, my whole body was in a fight or flight mode, and shock and trauma and pain in a way that wasn't even like pain for my neck, but it was pain on a soul level. And then I also started feeling abandonment. And the abandonment was coming because like I didn't even feel good. I wasn't even able to make it to the grocery store. My ex-mother-in-law that was keeping Champ, she actually was going, she stayed with me that night, but then she had left. And, there was nobody to take care of me. And so it sent me through this whole abandonment thing. And then there was also, in addition to that, lots of feedback I was getting from other people about abandonment being one of the huge things that was going on through this energy surge. I also then heard through different things going on that we had a spike in the Schumann's resonance in the earth plane over this last weekend that shot the energy up in the earth. And so again, this impactful shift, like there was such an energy shift. I'm going to explain to you what that means on a level of what was happening to that. Which, by the way, I ended up, the chiropractor I said I'd set the appointment with for 8 months actually was today. And oh my God, like I'm a new person. And even in this one time, I'm back to grounded, I'm back to centered. I was able to go in and tell him that I had, clearing a past life and, I'd been hung and, all these different things. And he was on board with understanding what I was saying, even though he didn't 100% know all of it. And he understood that it was in my physical body needing to come out at that phase and he could help me. So let's jump into my takeaway from that, okay? And that's what I'm saying, this impactful shift, it like shifted and jolted this stuff out of me. And I asked for it to come out, and it has been one of my biggest blocks. But I got to tell you, I learned some freaking compassion and this radiant moon of compassion to be free of this Aquarian moon energy. Because I got to tell you, I had compassion now for any and everyone on any level, of a level I didn't even understand before, because of how miserable I've been for the past few days. And so I'm actually, too, one other thing, I'm on a bunch of supplements and stuff that's like to boost my adrenal glands from that shock and fight or flight syndrome that stresses your adrenals. So like I can tell, I just started them today. I'll share some of that information with that for you too, in case somebody else is going through those. So the number one thing is this is happening, this impact shift of this jolt of energy like this, and this direct impact is creating an acceleration of the ascension process. And what that really means is it's helping us to go through the sudden shift so that we can create like a deeper purge. And it's coming from an energy shift. And at the same token, not only are we going through this impactful acceleration of energy that's updating us, like for instance, I felt these downloads coming in of energy that was so high vibrational, and it's such a weak state that my body was in. My body couldn't catch up with the frequency fast enough. And again, it was completely washed out, wiped out, fatigued, could barely even get out of bed or walk across the room. That's how, and I can't tell you that I've been 100% that bad, even though I've been really bad. And this whole journey is just that, again, being at a different frequency now, I understand what's happening and you can shift it quicker. So the energy upgrade then basically created, number 2 is a purification process. So number 1 is an acceleration of ascension is happening through this impact shift to create such an impact, such an energy surge, such a download, such an upgrade so quickly, and coming at it from this angle of closing out the new and opening up like the new to the point where it's just like this impact. It's the best way to put it. And that jolt then is creating a surge of a purge for purification. So number 2 would be purification. And that purge is coming from that higher frequency, that higher vibration. But I got to tell you, it was creating a lot of internal resistance doing the purge, because it made everything come out of me physically in my physical body, and every last little thing around my physical reality came through of any and everything that maybe I was even potentially being a spiritual rebel and resisting changing, saying it's going to change and it's going to change now. And I'm going to give you just it's a easy example of this, but it was powerful enough for me. So like for instance, 2 to 3 years, I had this going up in the Ascension. I never had been a caffeine drinker, and even the good quality caffeine even is kind of where I'm going with this, with like say B vitamins has some caffeine, and like, but it was felt like it was upgrading my energy in a way that gave me like activated my accelerated my ascension really quickly, and like I needed it. And even I had an energy healer say, I'd never tell anybody to drink caffeine, but you're supposed to. And I go, I already started because I already knew, I already felt it. So I'd kind of been feeling the need to come off again. And I'd been resisting a little bit because I love my B vitamins and I like that little bit of an extra boost in the morning. And so then what happened is over the weekend I had ran out, okay, and I was gonna go get me some more Vegasport at the farmer's market that's down the street. And because I felt so miserable and could not go anywhere, I couldn't get it. So I didn't even have that, which made me feel even more weak in a way because I wasn't getting my energy and my B vitamins and things like that. So see what I'm saying? I was being told or feeling that I should kind of get off or stop, and I wasn't ready to, or I was being a rebel and I was resisting it. But then I was put in a position to be forced to not get it, not have it, not be able to. And then, so that's bringing that into, not only was my physical body affected in so many ways of this, but that is, bringing into my reality, making it happen really quickly from this impact, okay? So that's where I'm saying this accelerated ascension is creating, this upgrade and this purge that's then bringing into form into your physical reality and purging to your physical body super quick, which is causing part of the impact that I'm talking about. And another thing I just feel like saying with this, so I had so much of that vertigo and so much of the dizziness. I felt like I was being dropped in, say, an elevator, like fell out of the sky and just fell and then hit. But before you can imagine just that feeling of coming down, dropping really quick, which is what I felt like. But before I could even get my bearings together, being at the bottom, it just took off going up again. And I'd be like going up faster. And my eyeballs felt like they were rolling around in my head. And I'm not kidding when you looked at my eyes, and I got a feeling they're probably still not exactly right. Because I'm still centering from this, and I probably, like where I'm at, honestly, like I've been really taking care of myself in this really well, and luckily I had already been doing that, but it was even another layer and another level, and putting myself first around and everyone, and being able to I canceled plans for this week and all kinds of things. But the point I was going to say is that I almost didn't even go ahead and do this video like as of this morning because I knew I just needed to take care of me. And then I'm so much better after this treatment that I just had, that I knew there's so many of you probably going through something like this or similar to this. And if you are, I want to hear about it because I'm showing up to share with you so that you know you're not alone and you're not dying. Because it felt like I was dying in this process of it. And I knew what was happening, but I still didn't get out of the physical feeling of that. And there's even an article that somebody sent me on that too, that was talking about how the Schumann's resonance shifted and how people were passing out. Other people were passing out, going to the emergency room, finding nothing, and having these same vertigo, same exact symptoms. And the article was even saying, you're not dying, it's the Schumann resonance that had spiked. So take care of yourself in the process of this. So in this purification, also I'm seeing this from a place of hydration, like purifying, like hydrating, drinking lots and lots of water. In fact, I've got some electrolytes that I'm drinking that I think is very, very good and powerful. And deep breathing. So inside of me, I had all this stuff. I just felt like something wanted to come out. And the more I breathe, I come in deep breath, and I can feel it coming out with every breath. And it was just every time I breathe and like exhale and get this release out of my body, no more than I get that one out, there was another one and another one. And I just kept doing deep breathing. And so make sure that you just continue to do deep breathing if you're feeling any of this. And know that you're not dying, that it is really an impactful shift on your body going through this energy the way it's happening. It's taking the toll, and it's causing, like, for instance, I went from being really, really in a good place to not just tired, but freaking fatigued, down to the point where even on my energy test today showed like that my adrenals are just shot. And so I'm on an adrenal support, and I'm going through, I used to work with the patients for a lot of chronic fatigue and adrenal support, and also boosting and cleansing your liver and your even dandelion roots, really good for like your kidneys to be flushing, but of course make sure you're hydrating at the same time. But one of the things for this chronic fatigue and adrenal issues, raw adrenal gland, B vitamins, and the licorice root are very, very good support. Then I would also, like I said, flush your liver, and even your urine, your urinary tract system with some dandelion root. But I have some specific things that I recommended for patients for multiple years that I put people on. And what I will say is, when you do adrenal support, it's not always a quick fix, but it takes 3 to 4 months sometimes to really boost that. But I'm going to put a link to some of the products that I've used and used with patients for many years in just the description below. So feel free to check that out if you're having that issue. Be sure to get on that, because I'm doing a 3 to 4 month adrenal support boost myself right now, because my whole body through this went into a state of shock, and like fight or flight syndrome was what was happening. And it was, again, due to these clearing these past life things, that my body was going back through the trauma from clearing those past lives. And this there was nothing else I did. It was just, and I asked for it to come out. So the good news is I've got past my major block of knowing that I can feel and release this, and I'm doing it from a level of a like long-term standpoint. I talked to this guy today about, and a regimen that is addressing more of the issue than just an adjustment. And he gave me so much relief, and even was able to adjust me, that gave me that freedom to be like, I don't have to feel this restriction to only one person in the world can adjust my neck, So number 3 is being open to receive. I got to tell you, put in that position, I thought I was being receptive. I thought I was being open. And what happened is that energy surge opened me wider than I've ever been. I've became so hypersensitive, like the energy around me, the noise, the movement, emotions coming up. I actually was able, thank God, because I'm not normally a crier, but it's a good thing, and I wish I could normally cry more. But I was able to do a release from this whole abandonment thing, which actually gave me some relief in the neck and the issue on Sunday whenever the emotions finally came out, and I was letting those go. But, don't be surprised if you feel like you're open, wider, you're more sensitive, and just more susceptible to those emotions. That is, all of this is, again, getting down to this open to receive. And this emotions is connecting to that compassion, coming into a compassionate place for yourself and others. That is more of that feminine side, to really move into that feminine energy. And if you're carried a heavier masculine load like I have, an energy for most of my life, then you will understand what I'm saying whenever, that I'm is more open than I've ever been, and more hypersensitive, and feeling so much compassion for so many people out of this, and most importantly, even for myself. So number 4 is you want to stay grounded, because this energy is so elevated, it's so high, it's so spiked, and your body can't keep up. So one of the things that I would recommend you do, that I've done in the past, and that I was also the chiropractor today had recommended, that I do a teaspoon of sea salt in water, as much as I could drink, twice a day. And it's brilliant, because the sea salt not only does some purification, and also, cleanses that system of your our bodies are basically 75% water. And so in that, all of our electromagnetic conducting vibration gets shifted, and especially in all of this. So it literally, by doing the salt internally, it's keeping you grounded inside in your energetic vibration of the vibration of who you are, and that stops some of that buzzing that's going on all the time, and it keeps you grounded. So also walk out in the grass, hug a tree. I would have loved to have done that over the weekend. I couldn't even get outside hardly. Whenever I did go out a couple times, it was just long enough to get Champ out and back in. And even just bending down was like going down that elevator feeling in my head to, take care of his business, But yeah, stay grounded. So the fifth thing is I kind of mentioned this one, so I'm just going to kind of wrap it up with, bringing this full circle, that this whole shift impact is about the physical reality, and it's hitting you within your body, within your life and everything going on around you, within your livelihood if things aren't in order there, and definitely in relationships and in love, and primarily your twin flame. If there are things that you need to work out with them, you will be experiencing things that are this shift and this impact that's going to bring to the surface, to purge, to let you be open to receive in a way that a lot of the divine feminine have, I mentioned in the last video, of not trusting and not being open. This is like, I almost felt like this video and this full moon in the Aquarius is kind of like the aftermath of like the shock after the quake and the aftermath of the Lionsgate. So this whole thing I'm explaining to you is sort of like that. It's like an impact of the aftermath of, an earthquake, and then having, the shock and tremors after. So this is real. It's really happening, and you're not crazy if it's happening to you. And again, I showed up here to let you know you're not alone if that's happening to you. And if it is, I'd like to know about it. And I also send all of you love and light and harmony in this, because at the end of the day, if you brought this all to full circle, we're bringing balance to our internal state, and so that we can bring balance to everything around us as well. Okay, so just to recap those 5 things that you could have or see things going on with you within this is to accelerate. It's an accelerated ascension, so that you can, get this shift in your energy so quickly that you're going up in your frequency to create balance in your reality. But that increase in frequency then is in number 2, creating the purge. That's getting rid of anything down to your physical body, your physical reality, and take care of your body in the process of that, because it's that impactful. 3, you need to be open to receive, and because it's making you and forcing you, because it's impactful, so it's forcing you to be open to receive if you're not. And if you've been that rebel and you've been holding on and you've not been open, then you're becoming hypersensitive, and emotions are coming through you out the wazoo to get them out. Abandonment being one of the number 1, or anything else you personally need to work on. Number 4, staying grounded, doing the salt water. Keep your energy as centered as you can. Meditations to center yourself would be good. And just remember that this will help your body stay centered while it's catching up with this frequency. And that this is happening in the 5th thing in your physical dimensions of everything from the heart, mind, body, soul, life, livelihood, and relationships, and everything else around you. So, all right, make sure to like, comment, share the shine. Also, I do have the retreat coming next week on the Awaken Your Soul Blueprint Retreat. This actually is also, I told everybody that's been signed up for that to do like a 2-week purge or purification or start a process 2 weeks prior. Well, here's another example of me being kind of put in a position to, it just took off, and I'm doing it without having, I would have started it, but it started on its own. And that's, again, this impact is happening to make this happen without you doing anything, and if you've been resisting it, it's forcing you to have to. Okay? Like, comment, share the shine. May you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.